Hey everybody, welcome back to the Buy My Merch podcast. I am so excited to be joined by IvyMay and Tay. They are both incredible DJs, producers, and artists. They put their own music out based here in Las Vegas. Welcome to the Buy My Merch podcast, you two.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I always just like to start when I have sort of two guests on, talk a little bit about why you're both on together. So how did you guys first meet and what brought you to start collaborating with one another?
Oh, that was all me.
Yes.
So last June, I was recently moved to Vegas. I went out in the arts district for my first time for my birthday weekend. Got little tips, but I ended up walking right up to the manager of Taverna and was like, oh, like I DJ, like do you guys book DJs here? And he was like, oh, like this girl IvyMay throws open deck nights. Like you just check out her Instagram page. I was like, okay, great. Fast forward to after the hangover, a couple days later, I'm finally in the right headspace to message this girl. So I just hit her up and I was like, oh my God, I saw you throw open deck nights. She was so cool. She saw that I used to throw events at June Shine, which we have a connection there, which you can talk about also.
Yep.
And then she was like, oh, I'm going to Cassie tonight. Check out a DJ. Do you want to come? So we met, got Italian food, and the rest is history. We just kind of bonded from there.
Yep. When I saw her DM, I immediately looked at her profile because I like to scope people and like see what they do. And so I clicked on her Bite the Noise profile and saw that she started an artist showcase in LA and that they had a lot of shows at a tasting room or kombucha tasting room called June Shine. And when that location opened, I actually have another business and we do plant design. So we did their entire exterior and interior plant design.
Plant design. I might have to do a quick aside. What is a plant designer?
Outside of music, I own a plant-related company. And so we would come in and assess what exactly clients want in their space and the look that they're going for, if there's any specific plant requests that they have. And then we make recommendations based on their lighting, the watering needs for the plants. And then we also design it in a way that would look great for the space.
I have so many questions, including there's a dead plant over there that just lost its life a few days ago. That is crazy cool.
Thank you.
And very needed in that there is... I think people want to have that, especially in like a studio space or making music, which gets stale, having like an actual, like a flow to your plants. Genius. I may have questions.
Absolutely. I will answer all of them.
Well, what do you think makes you guys, now that you've started collaborating beyond just performing together, what do you think makes you guys a good team in the collaboration space?
I think we're just aligned in so many different ways, like all up in all the ways that you can pour your heart and soul into a project or into building something. We have very similar style in like how we approach things, how we like to shoot, even like the humor that we have and the music that we like, the way that we dance. But I do think the biggest part is our belief system, which I've found is so incredibly important when you're working with someone or collaborating with someone. If you have the same viewpoint on how to accomplish things and you have a belief that you can do it and you vibe in that way, you're pretty much unstoppable. So yeah, when I started, I wasn't expecting like a best friend to do this with, but of course the universe is always looking out and it's going to be better than I expected. So then Tay came into my life.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
No, you nailed that. I was like, yep, all that. Check.
All of that. I have been a big fan of you guys, the way that you're making content. I definitely wanted to talk to you about that. As we know, and especially with this podcast, marketing is a big piece of making it in the music industry. But I think I really like the way you guys take an experimental approach. And in particular, Tay, you posted recently this just incredible dunes shoot. I think you might have both gone, but I just wanted to ask why you were inspired to go there and tell me what it was like shooting on these like beautiful sand dunes for your single promo.
Yeah, totally. So sometimes when I make music or even just like during the process of it or sometimes even before, like when I just have the song idea, is I do kind of like I have a visual idea in my head of like what I want the cover to kind of look like, the promo. And so I was like, oh man, this song would be so sick with just like vast landscape sand dunes. And then like the contrast of that with like the black like style attire. So I use Pinterest to do like visual storyboarding before I like lock in any cover art or like single release promo. So yeah, I just pulled like a lot of like kind of dune footage and I was like, hey, where are there sand dunes around Las Vegas? Because I know there's some close by. Like I know there's one in like the Mojave that's like at least 2.5 hours, I think. And then there's ones a little closer to Vegas, which are 45 minutes. But then I found last summer I was driving back from Lake Tahoe back to Vegas. And on the side of the road, I looked over and I was like, what are those giant sand dunes sticking out of nowhere? Just I'm driving through the desert and it's just like, boom, massive sand dune. So I was like, okay, I'm going to look that up later. So I found out that it's this place called Big Dune Recreation Area. They're pretty known for like ATVing and stuff. But I was like, that's sick to shoot. It's only like what? It's like an hour from you, an hour and a half from me. Yeah. So looked it up and I don't know. IvyMay is just so like cool because she's so down to like shoot anything, anytime. I'm like, I just sent her the Google location. I didn't even say anything. I just shared location and she immediately texted me back, yes. Like she just understood the assignment.
Yeah. So I think that's another thing that we're always like so aligned on too. So before I went on this whole music journey, I did a lot of camping with my dog. So I love nature. I love mountains. I love the forest. I love the desert. And that's actually something that I really miss because I don't do that as much anymore. So now that I have Tay and we're like, let's go shoot content together. And I'm like, yes, like this is a way to bring it all full circle.
Yeah, it's cool because it lets you like explore too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like you get to satisfy all of like your needs to like go out, see nature, and then be creative and build. Like it's really awesome when you can like kill like 5 birds with one stone. Not actually though.
No birds will be harmed.
We drove out there and didn't expect the wind to be a factor. Oh my God. I'm in like my legs are out. So like the way the wind was hitting, like it felt like I was being stung by like 1,000 bees all at once.
That is not exaggeration. Yeah. The
it was
sand
rough.
was like slapping us like
in the face, in your eyes, in your mouth.
Yeah. In your ear.
Yeah. Ears, scalp. Like I think I got back home that night and I just flipped my hair over on my balcony and I just went like this and all this sand came out. Even days later, still sand.
I was sleeping in sand for like 3 weeks in my bed. I'm not kidding. I was like, where is this still coming from? It was like ingrained in my scalp.
Is this because that the image is just fantastic too of just like being completely immersed in this, but I have to ask from a nerdy standpoint, the gear. How do we protect the gear when we want to go do these like rogue shoots?
So for me, Tay didn't really have gear. It was more of like an artistic style music video for her. But for me, I did attempt to shoot one little thing with my tiny DJ controller, and it was not successful.
Didn't I see you guys with the deck though? Didn't you have like a whole we brought a little table and everything out there?
Oh yeah,
was that a different shoot?
That was a different shoot. This was not near sand. I would not bring my gear near that much sand, and especially it being that windy too. Even if I did bring it out, I would have been like, no, not worth it. Absolutely not worth it.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about, Tay, is that recently you did this just like mind-blowing day to an outsider where you started the day with a set in Santa Monica, which is out in LA, and then you came back to Las Vegas and did a set here in the city. Can you just walk me through the logistics of a day like that?
Yes. Well, so I was already in LA like that week leading up to that show on Saturday during the day. So I wasn't driving there and back in one day. I don't know. Who knows? It depends on the opportunity. But yeah, so I played a beach set for like this Earth Day festival happening on the beach in Santa Monica. As soon as my set was done, I was like speed walking back to my car. Like, I gotta go. I was like, I don't have time to eat. Like the traffic to get from, so where I stay in LA is on the kind of opposite side of Santa Monica. And LA traffic, it's like 5:30, 6 p.m. I'm like, it's going to take me like an hour to get back to go collect my dog and my things and then leave for Vegas. And I'm like voice noting my friend. I was like, I don't think I have time to grab a sandwich. And like, bless her soul, she's like, do you want me to grab you food? So she grabs a sandwich for me. I get back to her house, grab my stuff, get in the car, and I just get out. Thank God it was like kind of later-ish in the evening on like a Saturday. So people aren't really like, if it was a Sunday, that'd be a different story. But yeah, it was like a 4-hour drive back to Vegas. I got back around like 11 p.m. My set's at 12:30, so the perfect amount of time to like collect myself.
This is at night.
This is
midnight, 12:30.
Yeah.
So how many hours did you stay up on a day like that?
Oh, that day I was actually awake for 23 hours because that I didn't expect. So
impressive.
Thank you. I wouldn't. It's definitely not for the week.
She doesn't sleep that much anyways.
That's my theory with DJs, because I am like all of the sets, especially headlining 2 a.m., 3 a.m., especially here in Vegas. You guys are like a different breed. I have so much as a bit of a morning person. I have so much respect.
Yeah,
for just pushing through the entire night.
I feel that, but yeah. So I was definitely just running on like pure adrenaline. at that point. Like, you just got to keep moving. You just got to keep it going. You just got to get through the day. And like, the great thing is that like I love what I do. So I'm also fueled by like that passion. Like, I feel very like blessed and grateful that like this is what I get to do. Like, this is like my work. This is my career. This is my journey. I found what I love, and I'm going to like do whatever it takes to like keep that momentum going. But yeah, I get there from my set at 12:30, even a little early actually, not to brag. Yeah, so the timing of the universe just like really worked out. Like, there wasn't any like horrible traffic or anything. Like, it really was just like full send. And then I was also even asked to play for an extra, I think like hour at least too, which is why I ended up staying out till like 3, because the DJ after me wasn't ending, like didn't make it after all. So yeah, I even played for longer than anticipated at night, and so I didn't get home and slash to bed until like 4-ish that night. And I had woken up at like 6:30 just because I was also like staying at a friend's. There were 2 dogs. The dogs kind of woke me up. So yeah.
Well, listen, I love you.
Day.
I love you saying like, while I can do it, I want to do it. Like, this is what I really love, and if I can handle it, I'm gonna make it happen. I want to ask too, this is really common, especially for new artists, DJs. You show up to a set and they tell you, can you actually add an extra hour? What goes through your head? Like, how do you prepare for knowing that that could happen at any gig?
Oh, I'm so down. If it's like extra pay. If they're like, will you do it for free? I'd be like, no, I'm gonna tap at the end of my time slot, thank you. But if they're like, oh, like obviously we'll pay you, which has been the case for most of the time, I'm like, yeah, I'm always down. I love DJing, so like. And
how do you like, what do you do with the set? So like, you had a set that you were preparing. Do you just have like a bonus set at all times?
Well, I don't always pre-plan everything.
Okay.
So I have like, especially for some nights where I'm like, I don't really know what like the vibe's gonna be fully like. I feel like I'll plan the first 20-30 minutes just to get like in the flow of it. But then from there, I'm kind of just like winging it, just based on like reading the room, seeing what the crowd's doing.
IvyMay, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, you're very, very involved in the community here, a lot of really interesting events and organizations. I wanted to just give you the floor to talk about some of your experiences working locally. I've seen like silent discos, and I know you work with the plant company you have. Is there just one that you wanted to kind of bring attention to, or one that's particularly meaningful in the Vegas life that you live?
It's really hard for me just to pick one community in Vegas, because when I actually moved here 2 years ago, I was only supposed to be here for 4 months. And then I was going to move back to San Diego because that's where my plant business is based out of. So fully intended to move back and run everything from there. But what actually kept me in Vegas was the different communities that I discovered. The first one being the entrepreneurial community. That was probably like the first community that I joined. So it's just people here who have businesses of all sizes. And that was something that we immediately connected on, and we understood each other's lifestyle and the hardships. I feel like when you're an entrepreneur in that way, and like you almost lose everything or you go broke, and it's an experience that not everyone has, so you bond greatly over it. The second community would definitely be just music in general. So DJs, artists, and also dancers. Even though they're all separately their own communities, I feel like to me, they create one big community that I love being a part of. And it's really cool to see how everyone collaborates. And Vegas is so supportive, which if you don't live here, or if you've never really like hung out locally here, you don't know that. But people here are just very happy. They go out of their way to bring your name up for opportunities and to make sure that you're taken care of. And I don't feel any type of competition here.
That's how I've been feeling too, as I've stepped into this community, especially with this podcast, is everyone is just very willing, despite coming from all these different genres and different goals and ambitions here. Everyone wants community. I think in a city like this that just feels so larger than life, it makes sense that there's this pocket of like, especially the arts district, which I love asking guests about. So in what you have both experienced in the arts district versus the industry in other cities, San Diego, LA, what has been just something you noticed that feels special or different about the sort of local music scene here in Vegas?
I came here from LA, so to me the community, because it is like, it's smaller, I feel like I met like so many artists in such a short period of time, which has been awesome. And everyone is so like bonded and like supportive, like they're all out at each other's events. So it's been really cool to see.
And for me, I wasn't exactly involved in music before I came here, so I don't have too much to compare it to. But when I do go back to San Diego, I feel like, I don't know where it's at. It might be in North Park. It might be somewhere else. It's definitely not as prominent or as like well known, I feel like, in San Diego, or as big.
Yeah.
So that was something really special about Vegas that I feel like I wouldn't have experienced to this level elsewhere.
Totally. I wanted to ask too, what drew you both initially to the world of DJing in particular?
I mean, I've been a musician for like pretty much my whole life, so I'm shocked that I didn't start DJing like earlier, because it was kind of one of those things where I was like, oh, like, you know, I'd love to get into it, and I just like never actually just like did the thing until like if like a few years ago I got my first controller, learned, taught myself all that. But for me, I found it as just another platform to like put my music on. So like eventually, like my goal with DJing is like I want sets with like mostly my music. I kind of genre switched a year or so ago, going from like kind of more the indie pop, electro pop world to like now producing like more like house music, electronic music.
Very cool.
So for me, it's just another way to like express my musical creativity.
For me, so I've always loved music that I can dance to. My dad was always taking home videos of me when I was younger. There's so many videos of me like climbing on coffee tables in my diaper and twerking when I was 1, when I could stand. And so growing up, like my favorite part of my childhood was making up dances to Britney Spears and then performing them with my cousins for my family every Sunday. Like we'd never performed it before. And I played piano for 10 years and I also played the flute and the xylophone for 3. But when I turned 16, I finally found the courage to tell my mom that that wasn't the type of music that really like ignited me. I was more into dance music and piano wasn't really giving me that vibe. So I told her, I think I want to quit. I just want to play dance music. But being from Kansas originally, being that young, I don't think I understood what a DJ did, or maybe it's evolved into something different now, 20 years later, but it never crossed my mind that I would ever become a DJ. At the time, I just went to school, went to college, especially for my parents. Being raised in Asian culture, there's certain expectations of you. And so I didn't follow any of those expectations, but I did get my bachelor's and my master's degree. And then I worked in corporate for 10 years. And it was when I went to LA to see Oregon City that I was inspired and had the divine download, as I like to call it. I had a thought when I was at the Shrine Auditorium that I was meant to be a DJ, and that's how I was going to bring every single passion and like my childhood into play now. And even like my branding career, my content career, I was like, I can use all of this to play dance music now. And so that's how I decided that I was going to become a DJ.
Who were you seeing at the shrine? Have to ask.
So I was there for Oregon City. It was my friend's birthday, but it was actually the opener that caught my attention. It was Nala. And yeah, so I was like, wow, who is this? Like, this music is like literally punching me in my soul right now. It's so good. And I looked on stage and it was a female DJ. And that's when it clicked for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And then that turned into, oh my gosh, I was meant to do this. So it was a really, really cool moment for me. I held on to that feeling and I like ran around the auditorium for like hours and I was just telling everyone.
So for both of you, I wanted to also ask, because I love the story of you have this epiphany of I want to be a DJ. What would be like, or what do you remember like the first steps that you took then? Was it I need to get the gear, or did you really start focusing on how should I learn the world of DJing?
So for me, that was actually coincidentally around the time that I was planning to move back to San Diego. And so when I had that thought, I was like, oh no, I'm actually going to stay in Vegas because it just seems like Vegas has a much better pool of opportunity here for DJs. So when I came back, actually, the first thing that I did I didn't buy a controller. What I actually did was I started going out by myself at night. So I would go to the bars and the clubs on Fremont Street, Wheel Scream, Disco Pussy, and I tried to learn the lay of the land and how that industry works. And the reason why I went by myself is just so I could be free of feeling obligated to entertain anyone, so that I could talk to whoever I needed to talk to, observe whatever I needed to observe for a certain amount of time, and to learn how it's all connected. And then I did find that all those bars and clubs are actually connected. They're owned by the same people, but the people who work for a corner bar, they're like DJs. They also do like social media, and they also do the sound system. And it's like, once you start to see how it's all built, it's just like everything else we've learned about Vegas. It's all connected and it's super small. So that was actually the first thing that I did, just to make sure that it was a path that I really wanted to like majorly like adjust my life to. I just wanted to be sure that it was for me. And it was great. Like I had so much fun and everyone was super welcoming, super helpful. And I'm also a night owl, so it worked out great.
If you guys had to give like maybe just one tip each of how you would tell an aspiring DJ to get started in 2024, what would you give as like a good tip?
One tip. I would say putting yourself out there, both in person and online.
I would have to agree.
That is a pretty good one.
Yeah, she nailed it. Yeah, just going out and like having no fear to like introduce yourself to owners of places that you want to play at, others in the community, and also online, just because social media is easily and the most efficient and cheapest way to get your work out there. You never know who's going to share your video with like a click of a button, and you can set your profile up in a way where they can come and learn everything that you're doing and a little bit about you without having to ask you any questions. But another tip off of that is I would just say keep it very true to yourself. Don't like go to venues that you wouldn't normally be at and enjoy, so that you don't have to do double the work to learn, especially off the bat, to learn like things that don't come natural to you.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask you guys on the topic of social media, as I've already gushed about your presence online and how you market what's your shows, your music. What is your philosophy? Like, how has it evolved in the last few years with social media? I mean, we're driving to the desert, we're making time to film. Why do we feel it's important? And what have you already learned from having a community online?
Yeah, no, I feel like for me, it's definitely changed a lot in the past few years because I started doing like video content like over the pandemic, as did a lot of artists. It's free marketing and we're all trapped at home, so you might as well. But I kind of vibe switched from like I was posting a lot of like, this is just from trial and error. Like you really do have to throw all the paint at the wall and see what sticks. And so early on for me, what stuck is I discovered I was getting traction posting a lot of like tips for artists, whether that be like producing tips, songwriting tips, to like marketing tips. And then I was also getting like brand deals and collaborations that way. So my content took a bit of a turn when I realized I didn't really want to be like that type of a creator. So for me, like going out in the desert and shooting content is like, this is a way to make something that's like that I enjoy doing. Because I think if you're not enjoying it, like what's the point? So like I love doing excursions like that. Like I love that we can just drive out to like, oh, you want to go to Death Valley, 2-hour drive, and we'll like go discover all these new places, because like it fuels your spirit and it fuels your soul. So I always feel like your content should be like authentic to you, and I should be like delivering the messages that like you want to deliver.
Mm-hmm. I actually totally agree, and it's always weird like how we're kind of on the same path. But when I first started, I just started about a year ago, and I try to do a lot with content, just promoting the events I was hosting, and then I found out that took too much time, and I even filmed like an entire course for DJs on branding and social media, and then I was creating reels to promote that with tips and things like that. But then I realized too that I didn't want to do that. I actually want to create and share whatever I feel like is art. And so with content specifically, I feel like there's so many ways that you're creating when you shoot a video. So picking the location and how you want to portray what your mix is, like even visually, and then how you capture it, how you edit it. It's all artwork. And if you're creating and you're fueling your soul, like she said, I feel like that's way more in alignment with earlier when I was trying to do what everyone else was doing and thought I could be good at it. And it didn't feel completely right. So I've learned to follow what feels right.
Yeah. It's awesome.
But I just want to add on one thing. And the thing that I feel like that I found, especially like through shooting content together, is that like you get these really like authentic moments where you're just being you're being silly and you're being yourself that like I wouldn't think to capture, but like you capture it for me. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, like I wouldn't think to like flip the camera on for that, or like let's keep this like piece of like BTS in there, because it's like a lot of the things that I found like kind of do well, it's like we're just like being ourselves, like we're being silly, we're having a good time, we're having fun, and like that comes across when it's authentic.
Yeah, and it's crazy because okay, so I usually have a second phone that I carry with me that's purely for vlogging, so I'll just have my phone set out to capture the entire thing.
Love that.
And that's where a lot of that really candid like humorous content comes from. But it's crazy because I actually lost that second iPhone that I had.
Oh no.
News to Tay.
Oh, not the second iPhone.
No. So this second iPhone that I have, I lost it the weekend that I was at the Shrine Studio in LA. And I feel like I manifested it though, because I knew that I was going to be like at a show and I can get like a little wild sometimes. So I made this entire like wallpaper for my phone with my dog's baby pictures on it. And it literally said, if I lost it, when someone like looks at it, it says, "Oh shit, I've lost my phone. Please call this number. All my dog's baby photos are on and he will love you forever." And I feel like I actually manifested me losing my phone that way. But I actually didn't lose it in LA. I lost it in Vegas the day I came back, and I got out of an Uber, and 5 seconds later I realized it was still in the car, and I drove off, and I never saw it again until a year and a half later. Somebody called the number that was listed on that wallpaper. Like, I just picked it up probably like a month ago, just in time for me to have a second phone to shoot content with.
That is serendipitous, is it not? Wow.
I didn't know that backstory. What? That's crazy.
Yeah, I was calling Uber from my, like, someone's burner phone that they let me borrow for like a whole week. And then finally I was like, I'm gonna have to go drop like $1,300 on a new phone. And I was like, what if I get it back? And I was like, oh, guess I'm never gonna get it back. And literally a year and a half later, that phone arrives back in my hands.
See, so for anyone who's like, as pet owners, you take too many pictures of your dog. Look what happened. It was a complete got your phone back.
Yes.
Because you put something witty and fun in there.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I think a lot of people can relate to the second phone thing too. I mean, I live that way as well. Are there any other like content creator minded tips that you guys have learned over the last year or so of filming this fun stuff together?
Always bring a tripod.
Yes.
Always have a tripod in your car. Always. Because if the day that you don't, the day that you think you're not going to need it, you're going to be like, dang, I wish I had my tripod. And then you're going to be building things on chairs and trying to prop it up and take videos of yourself.
That's great. Okay. Well, I want to talk a little bit too about the gig life and performance here in Vegas. I know a lot of the Heads on TV followers have a lot of questions about, could Vegas be somewhere I move to? So I first just wanted to ask how you guys find gigs locally. I love the story that it was IvyMay that helped you early with your gigs, but now where you are at in 2024, how do you go about finding and booking gigs here in Vegas?
So a lot of places that I've learned, they do go through like agencies. So there's a third party like booking agent, and a lot of places will use different agencies. So sometimes it just came from like looking up like who books where. You can even go directly to like a venue and like ask the manager, do you guys book independently or do you book through an agency? And then it's just getting in touch, reaching out. I definitely recommend having like a solid like EPK, because the booking agents are going to like want to see that. So having a portfolio that has like your mixes, your bio, like maybe some video clips. So that's one way to do it.
I just want to clarify, EPK is now digital, right? This is a digital link.
Digital EPK, yeah.
You're handing.
No, don't go like mailing and faxing it. Yeah.
I want to clarify that because I think there's still this in the digital world, the idea of, well, if I bring the paper one, I'm going to be different. I think in a lot of cases they can't do anything with it. Like there's just nothing they can do with it.
Yeah.
Got to be digital.
Yeah, for like those types of gigs like that, they go through agencies. But then a lot of the times you do have like a lot of DJ collectives who are also like throwing events and throwing shows. And like to me, those like the fun gigs where you get to be like a little more creative, put your own flair into it. And those you just get from like making friends, just knowing people.
Same.
Yes, same.
Ivy's like same. How have you guys gone about meeting? I know the great story of how you both met, but how do you meet other musicians, vocalists, performers here in Vegas that you might bring into a set with you?
Just hang out in the arts district. Just hang out downtown. Everyone pretty much hangs out down there and throws their events there. So it's like almost inevitable that you're going to find those communities when you're just out and about. One of the big ones that I love is Last Friday. A lot of my close friends that I've made here are from the Last Friday crew. So they've become the largest open mic in Vegas. And there's a lot of singer-songwriters and producers too that I've met within that group.
How are you balancing now the music creation process against the inevitable having to market it online?
Yeah, no, I totally feel that, because for so long, like there was a point where I was posting 2 TikToks a day, posting an Instagram reel every day. And now I'm definitely taking it back a bit, like slowed down. I'm kind of been like, okay, like let's focus on the music first. So I definitely still like try to keep up with my content. I think also shooting while you make music, or like as soon as you don't make a song, like shoot something quick with that. But for me, the music definitely comes first. Like if I have a day and there's a song that I want to work on. Like I literally will have this internal battle and this monologue with myself. It's like one side of my brain's like, sit down and like finish working on that track for 3 hours. I'm like, oh, I need to edit this content to post tomorrow. I have usually leaned towards the side that says edit the content to post tomorrow, but now I'm like, okay, no. I have like reminders, daily like things written on like my window, my mirror in my bathroom, and then I have like a little whiteboard. So it's like that's for me is also a visual reminder that for me everything comes back to the music. So that always takes priority if there is a point where I'm like, okay, I need to decide what to do with these few free hours. But I will like consciously slot in, like we'll have shoot days together and we'll like schedule those and plan those out. So then I know in like in advance, okay, this is my content shoot day. Everything outside of that, like I got to work on music.
Do you feel that too when you're putting maybe sets together or trying to figure out your next steps from the performer perspective?
So for me, within the last 4 months or so, I really had to evaluate what my goals were because there's so many opportunities in Vegas. And what I've learned is about myself is that I'm not necessarily trying to take on every gig now. I only really want to play gigs that I can truly like just play what I want to express an emotional journey that I want to take people on. So for me, it's I don't know if it's like easier or harder now, but I basically spend time creating sets for places I want to play at. And I do that steadily. And then content-wise, I try to shoot as much as I can just to constantly like try to put myself out there. I don't know if this is a good answer, but
I love that.
Okay.
I think that's how we feel too, is that we are almost now as musicians split to have our in-person and digital audiences and feel that they're separate. And there's, even if it's leaving notes on the mirror, like we have to remind ourselves there's a digital and a real world that we're trying to participate in every day as an artist. So I always love asking and hearing that perspective. Kind of a roundup on the social media topic. What has been for each of you one of the most surprising, intriguing, exciting things that has happened as a result of posting your music on social media, or in this case, just that you're DJing your sets?
I feel like as I've like just continued to like develop myself as like an artist and like creatively improve and like work on like production a lot more, because I was doing a lot of like co-producing or like co-collabs, or I'd lean on other producers. Like I kind of took a break from self-producing. Like my first EP was totally self-produced, and then I kind of was like, hey, like let me work with other people. And then now I'm kind of pulling it back again to myself after going out and getting all this like external like inspiration and like just like learning and growing that way. Whoa, sorry, I totally blinked out. What was the original question?
The question is, what has been one of the more surprising or rewarding things that has happened as a result of posting your music online?
So I feel like I've been able to kind of find like what resonates with people. Like for me, it's been really cool to like, let me post this like clip of like a song I made, and like seeing that gain like a little bit of like attention and attraction, like trying to find like that core audience who like, they like the music I make. They're adding it to their personal playlist. I don't do any like Spotify promo or marketing just because I don't think that's like a good use of like time or money for me at this point where I'm at. Maybe in the future for some artists, like that's a thing that they prioritize, but I really love seeing that like organic, like people like the song. Like most of my streams come from people playing it on their own playlists, which has been really cool to see. Like the numbers aren't big, but for me, like that matters more. Like if I can make something that somebody connects with and that they resonate with. I've had people come up to me in person after I've started to get a little more like vulnerable with my music, like write things that are more personal and like share the stories behind that. I've had people come up to me and they're like, that's so great that you shared that. Like, I really resonate. And for me, that if someone can like relate to something that I've written and that I've released, and like it speaks to them on like an emotional level, like that's, I don't know, one of the coolest things.
So I can actually answer this question better than I originally thought when you asked it. So since I don't make my music currently, my own original music, what I have been doing when I create content specifically for social media is finding songs with messages that I want to share. And so within usually like a minute, I'll do like a quick mashup or transition between two songs. But I've been able to express creativity, and another type of messaging that I actually want to really share with people is that you can change your mind at any time in your life and pursue something differently. You can pursue something completely different than what you had been pursuing before. And a lot of it is, it's kind of like a quote unquote spiritual journey. And it requires you to believe in yourself and to find gratitude in every moment, to experience joy while you're doing it, and just to create from your heart. And it's an energetic, vibrational game. And once you kind of understand how it works and that the world and the universe wants you to experience more joy, it wants you to create more, and then it rewards you as you do that. Once you figure out that game, it's so empowering and it's almost addicting to just make yourself better. So that is one of the main core messages that I try to share through social media, and then I'll create music to go with that message from other songs that I'll mix together.
It's beautiful. You know, there's also that question of how do you find inspiration when you know you want to be trying to promote yourself online or keep your content calendar, but you're just not feeling motivated or inspired? Do you tend to push yourself? Do you give yourself space? Like, how do you push through the slumps of social media?
Oh my gosh. So I used to have a calendar where I had to post every day, and I even had slots where I'd write the voiceover script, the caption, and all of that. But I've learned that if there are days that you're not inspired to create, don't force yourself to do it. Because if you're doing it and you're coming from a place of negative feeling, or you're not really into it, it's not going to be your best work if you're trying to push through it. So for me, I've given myself so much grace to like not feel like I have to stick to my content calendar, because also on the other side is like when you're getting booked for shows, that changes your content schedule drastically as well. And so I've stopped with the calendar thing, and now I plan on a daily basis. Maybe 2 weeks out, this might be what it looks like. Okay, so I'll work towards creating these reels and these promos for whatever's coming up, but I'm not sticking to like I have to post every day and I have to post this post that I said I was going to post today type of mentality. It's just too much for me, and it gives me more anxiety than it needed to.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I've definitely like been at a point where I burnt out, and now I'm like, okay, no, it's more important to like let your battery recharge, because then you can like come at something at your like highest peak, at your fullest potential. Because it's like, if you're not feeling it and you're just like I've been there, I've done this. I've like made an edit and I'm like, this is like not like why I'm just posting just to post. If you're posting just to post, probably not going to be great content. So I really do think that like letting yourself approach things with like a well-rested, like fresh mind, and the more that you like shoot anyway, like I feel like I do have like, we have a lot of like past things that we just kind of accumulated. So like batch shooting, and then you have things for later, I think is also smart. But yeah, definitely like giving yourself a break if you feel like you need a break. It's not worth it to like stress out over like, it's just social media, guys.
It's just social media.
Yeah. You're always right on time, so don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. I love that mentality. And I think you two have it's been so fun to get to know you and see how you collab, and also keep such unique voices as well, and support each other as you're growing in whichever direction. So it's just been amazing having you on the podcast. The last question I just always like to ask is what's coming up next? You founded a couple really cool organizations, Bite the Noise and PLAYGRND X. Can you just talk a little bit about what those are?
Bite the Noise, I started throwing shows, like showcases for up and coming artists. I was living in LA at the time. So at the end of like 2021 is when I first started those. So we were doing everything from like acoustic showcases to like full band. And then as I started to DJ, I started to throw some more DJ events. And then I realized that, okay, that's a separate thing. It's a different like energy, different vibe, different crowd. So then I started PLAYGRND X last summer as a way to like host and promote, like just a way to like release and unleash yourself through the music is kind of like the whole point of those events. So yeah, I've taken a bit of a breather, just in the same way that if you need to take a break with like social media and content. So I haven't thrown an event since, what month is it? We're so bad with days. We are so notoriously bad with days.
May.
What year is it?
Maybe like last year we were throwing some.
I would have said April, but I saw about 200 reels or stories with the ramen on top of their head.
Oh yeah, it's May.
It's gonna be May.
Yeah.
You said ramen and I knew what you were gonna say.
That's the only reason why I knew it was May.
It's somehow already May. So we know we haven't done any this year. Are these, I kind of like that perspective though, of it's okay to start things and maybe give them space.
Take a break.
I think we panic.
Yeah.
Like we want to start something and we need to keep it active. So that's really cool to hear. Is this, so you may pick that up. Maybe fans can keep an eye out.
Currently having conversations and planning some things, especially as we go into summer. I'm starting to feel a little more like re-energized about things. So yeah, definitely going to be some things in the works for this year.
And then where can fans hear your music?
On my Spotify, if you look up TAY X, my music is there. Also, my Instagram is This Is TAY X, so everything is always linked in the bio.
Amazing. And then Ivy, I want you to shout out again some of I know you have that awesome plant organization, but also where can people find you? Do you perform a lot coming up here in Vegas?
So they can find me on Instagram. It's IvyMay.xo. And as far as shows here, I probably do 4 to 5 shows a month right now currently. I want to focus more on learning how to produce, and that is going to be a journey of its own to write words.
Excitement from Tay for these audio listeners.
Yeah. So Tay's big thing is she wants to see more female producers out there. I think you said there's a stat where it's like less than 3% of recognized producers are female. And so yeah, I do want to learn how to produce and start to share my own messages in a more original way, but I feel like I have so much to learn. So because I do have that other plant business that I have and run, I just want to be really cognizant of my energy to put it where I actually want to be, and to also make sure I'm not taking gigs that aren't going to help me as an artist. So it's kind of the future.
Amazing. And then also coming to sand dunes near you, you'll also be able to see these two filming super cool stuff. Well, I can't thank you both enough for being on my podcast. And again, make sure to go check out these guys, their music, their content, everything about them is so cool. And I'm just so glad to have had the chance to chat with you both.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. This is so fun.